Alright guys, so we talked before about Zen and the motorcycle. I got a couple good responses, so let's take a look at that a little bit more. So a lot of us bikers here, we don't study a lot of the philosophy. We don't get into meditation, all those things. Some people just get on a bike and they go. Well, I happen to study those things, so I'm able to maybe vocalize this a little bit for people who maybe are getting into motorcycling or maybe you just want to hear about it. Fuck it, you just want to hear an opinion. So why is it that you jump on this motorcycle and you get into what's called the Zen zone, the Senshin that the Japanese talk about, with a no mind, no thought? Think about that for a second. There's millions of people jumping on the most dangerous machine that known to man. Pretty much. Everybody knows goddamn well these things are fucking deadly. Everybody knows these things are dangerous. But yeah, we jump on them anyway. And they love it. They never go back. It becomes like an obsession. They always want to ride. So what is it about these guys, huh? Think about that for a second. So as you guys know, I like to do things in threes. I like to do things in either threes or eights, and there's a reason for that. Oh, a hawk. Can you see him? Oh my god. Awesome. Okay. So, first thing that happens when you get on a motorcycle, and I'm talking for people who have probably never been on a motorcycle. Most bikers already know what I'm talking about. I don't even need to say it, but they know. First and foremost, the first thing that happens is you have to stop thinking about your life, your problems, all the things that are nagging you in the back of the head. You have to stop thinking about those things, because the only thing you can concentrate on is this right here. I have to watch this car, I have to watch that, I have to watch, everything. And of course there's the comparison. Well, shit, I drive a car, isn't that the same thing? Well, no. There's a reason for that. This all comes together in the end when I'm done. First off, a car can drive itself pretty much. It's on four wheels. You push the gas, it goes that way. You just move the steering wheel around. Second, you're inside of a box. So you don't feel as connected to everything out here. You don't have that connection. And third, you usually have some kind of distraction going, which is like your music or a cell phone or something. Which I'm sure everybody who fucking watches this channel completely drives on Bluetooth, hands-free, right? Yeah, right. So anyway, you get the idea. So now a motorcycle. This thing will not move. This will not move without you coming together completely and doing things. Now, the reason that you get an immediate zen, an immediate ascension, is because the yogis, meditative practitioners, all of these spiritual gurus, the first thing they teach you when you're getting into this stuff is how to breathe. The reason for that is because what they're trying to do is they're trying to bring your mind, body, and spirit all together. That's life in general, right? Life itself is mind, body, spirit. When one of those things are out, something's wrong, and you feel it. Well, with this, it's a little different. The motorcycle, immediately, you have no choice but to bring things together. Clutch, throttle, balance, brake, all those good things have to be done all at once, or this bike won't move. Now the difference is you have to constantly be doing it or the bike falls over. You will lose balance. Now what do they talk about in martial arts? What do they talk about in yoga? What do they talk about in all these spiritual things? Balance, right? Homeostasis. So immediately you're brought into this no mind zone and you're bringing all components together into one. So immediately upon a mechanical instrument such as a motorcycle, you are brought into a meditative zone. That's the first thing that happens. Now, I know what you're thinking. Some of you may just get on a motorcycle and be, fuck, I'm terrified when I get on that thing. Holy shit, I'm scared to death. Well, guess what? Think about life. When you first come into this world, you're scared to death. You don't know what the fuck is going on. You get to, you come out screaming, most of us. Right, but eventually you start to get a little grasp on things. You get to see how things work, but then things get a little distorted. Which comes to number two. The second thing that happens on a motorcycle, after you've gotten into this meditative zone, after you've gotten into all these things, you learn very quickly two different distinct things. Number one is you are extremely vulnerable at all times on this thing. There is no safe way to ride a motorcycle. There are different things you can do to enhance your possibility of survival of a wreck, you could buy safety gear, you could get extra training, which if you're smart, you've got as much training as you possibly can. But really, there is no way to operate a motorcycle safely, period. It's just not going to happen. Even if you're in a parking lot, the damn thing can fall over and break your leg. So, you recognize your vulnerability very fast. Now, what happens when you recognize your vulnerability? Somebody breaks into your house, you feel violated, you feel vulnerable. And then all of a sudden, something happens to us humans here. And this happens after an ass whooping too. If you ever got your ass kicked, you get humbled very quickly. Something happens, you get humbled. So what happens with humility? Everybody seems to think that this humility is somehow not a good thing. Humility actually feeds power. Humility actually helps you discover who you are because you realize you're not in charge. So that's the second thing that happens. You recognize your vulnerability. You recognize you're not in charge. You are relying on external forces here to keep you alive. And I know some of you are saying, oh, well, no, fuck that. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in... Yeah, you do. Everybody does. At some level, you know that there's something higher than you. There's some force going on out here. Whether you call it God, the universe, whatever you're going to call it. Something is out here that's greater than you. And it kind of makes you also realize life in general is vulnerable. You think you're safe, you got stable, you got a job, you put a lock on your front door, you got an alarm system, you got a car. Hey, what happened in 2009? Financial collapse, right? You lost all your money. Some of you lost your house. Some of you lost your retirements. Boom. It wasn't stable. It appeared stable. Everything looked right. Right? No. Some of you may have suffered a loss of a parent or a child or a loved one. Everything seemed great. Guess what? It wasn't stable. Life itself is not stable. You are vulnerable at all times. And when you're vulnerable, you scurry for safety. And then you start to realize that you're putting up illusions of safety. Yeah, you're driving around in a car with airbags and all this other stuff. That's still not a guarantee you're going to survive. It's the same thing you're doing as a motorcycle. But what this motorcycle makes you do that's different than a car, that's different than anything else, even yoga, martial arts, or anything else, it makes you ride that wave of vulnerability. In other words, you stop seeking safety because you can't be safe and you realize that. So just for a minute, you get a little taste of what it's like to just exist, just be. You have to just be on this thing. You cannot in any manner be safe. It's just not going to happen. An animal can run out from the road right now, knock me off my fucking bike, I'm done. So that's the second thing that happens, vulnerability. Now the last thing that happens, and like I said, I use 3 points usually when I talk about these things. The third thing that happens is you realize something that's pretty profound and is pretty simple at the same time, is you're not alone. We are all connected. Somehow, some way, everything out here is connected. You see air in front of you. That's not really air. There's molecules and shit inside of it. There's all kinds of things. I mean, we're educated society. We know that. We know there's oxygen. We know there's hydrogen. We know there's tiny little atoms together. So really what you're looking at isn't necessarily air. It's just something you can't see. So when I say that you're not alone, you will automatically connect into a community of people who just kind of get this. They might not say it. They might not have even thought about it, but they just kind of get it. Biker pulls up next to you, that's automatically your brother or your sister. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what kind of bike you're on. Doesn't matter. Now, we talk a lot of shit, right? I mean, Harley guys talk a lot of shit about Honda guys. Honda guys talk a lot of shit about Harley guys. Razz each other back and forth. But in the end, somebody pulls up next to you, most bikers are just going to be like, cool, what's up, buddy? And we'll ride. That easy. Doesn't matter what kind of bike you're on. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what color you are. Doesn't matter your race, your religion. None of that shit matters. Because you pull up on a motorcycle, first off, you transcend language. You transcend all those things. Because you can't fucking hear each other. Period. But you just know. You just know. And so when I talk about those three things, I think for me, that is what gets everybody in the Zen zone. Now, this is one person's opinion. Yeah, I'm not an expert. I'm not a, spiritual guru or anything like that. But for me, these are the three things that I found that make Zen and motorcycling hand in hand. One. So, okay, just to recap. So first thing that happens is you shut off your mind. You have to operate your motorcycle. You have no choice. Mind has to shut off. That fucking acquisition, merger, whatever bullshit at work, whatever problems you got have to go away. Sorry, back shelf, buddy. First thing that happens. Second thing, recognize your vulnerability. Recognize that vulnerability, you start relying on external forces to keep you alive, which is God, universe, whatever. Even if you're an atheist, you're relying on science, you're relying on something, some higher power other than you. And that's gonna feed into your humility. And humility helps you form an inner sense of peace and power. Second thing that happens. So the third thing that happens is you realize that you're part of a community. Not just the human community, but you start recognizing you're connected to this earth. You're connected to everything. Think about it. You can take some of the meanest assholes on earth, you put them on a motorcycle if they get into it, talk to them a couple months later. They're usually very calm, very connected. A lot of them will start talking about like spiritual stuff that you're like, dude, really? You? It happens. Those three things are what happens on a motorcycle, in my opinion, and why you get into the Zen zone. So, anyway, that's just my opinion. Feel free to comment, do whatever you want to say. Say whatever you want to say down below. Anyway, that's just me. That's my opinion on it. All right, take care.